Salutations, crustaceans. I'm Lobster, and today we are going to be reviewing the MTD Kingston Saratoga Deluxe 5-string bass. Let's do this. This is the MTD Kingston Saratoga Deluxe 5. Part of the Kingston lineup, which is their overseas line, crafted in China as opposed to the MTD USA line, which is crafted in the MTD shop up in New York. These are very high quality instruments. We've already checked out the Super 5, which was an awesome bass. I was very impressed by the versatility of that instrument, and it was so much fun to play. This is essentially the MTD take on a jazz bass with an offset body and two single coil looking pickups. However, these are both split humbuckers. And these are paired to a 3-band preamp. It's the same G&B preamp that's featured in the Super 5 as well, and a master volume and master tone stack, and a blend control. We also have a bypass switch, something which the Super 5 did not have. So you can run this passively with just the volume and tone and blend controls, or you can incorporate the preamp if you choose to. For the body, this is a basswood body with a flame maple top, and it's finished in a dark cherry burst. This is an absolutely gorgeous finish. Satin finish, very, very nice. And that is paired to a 35-inch scale maple on laurel neck. There's also a maple fingerboard option. This has 22 frets utilizing the Buzz Feiten tuning system, and we have a 0 fret up at the nut as well. The bridge and the tuners are the same style tuners that we saw in the Super 5, essentially the standard hardware that you get across the MTD lineup. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that stuff. The bridge does its job. It's a quick release bridge, which is a very nice touch. And then the tuners are functional. They're not super lightweight tuners, but you can get upgrades to this bass just like with the Super. You can get a Bartolini upgrade package for the electronics and a Hipshot upgrade package for the hardware at the bridge and at the tuners at the headstock. So those things are available for this bass. And just like the Super, and I believe all the other MTD 5 strings, we have a 19mm spacing at the bridge. So for those who like to stretch out and not have your strings all clumped together, MTD has you covered with the 19mm spacing. A very nice touch. For truss rod adjustment, we have the same style cavity that we saw in the Super 5 and pretty much any other MTD. That's kind of the thing, the little cutout here with this little shape. I mean, my MTD up here has it, as did the Supers. So that's where you adjust the truss rod by removing 2 little screws. You get the truss rod cavity there. Very easy to adjust, no problems, and overall, a very well constructed bass. Let's go ahead and turn it around. Around back, you see that I haven't removed the plastic. This is not my bass. MTD actually provided this bass to me as a loaner. This is a B-stock retail example. I will be returning it, however. We don't accept any basses or any sort of payment for my reviews, and I always give a consumer perspective, so we continue to do that here. We have a large control cavity cutout and a battery compartment, which is separate from the control cavity. It does require 2 screws to access that compartment. I do wish they included a battery door like I wish they do for all the Kingstons. We also see a 4-screw neck attachment with offset screws and a contoured neck heel. Very comfortable for upper fret access. Very nice. We also see that this is a 1-piece maple neck, and we see the nice grain there all the way up to the headstock, which has those small form factor tuners. They're not lightweight tuners like a Hipshot, however, you don't really experience much neck dive on a bass like this. MTDs are generally very well balanced. So how much does the MTD Kingston Saratoga 5-string Deluxe weigh? This particular example comes in at 8.5 pounds, which is a very lightweight for a 5-string instrument with a 35-inch scale neck and not being a headless or anything. Very well done. And lastly, how much does a bass like this cost, the Saratoga Deluxe 5-string? The 4-string model can be had online for anywhere between $900 to $1,000, and the 5-string goes for anywhere between $1,000 to $1,100. I've seen prices vary from different retailers. I believe that's also in spitting distance of the Super 5, which has two Stingray style pickups instead of two jazz pickups, and a less offset body. I really liked that bass, and let's see if I feel the same way about this by playing it. You all know what you need to do. Go ahead and pinch that like button so my hand will turn back to normal. Thanks. Oh yeah, this is a fun bass to play. The neck is an asymmetrical neck profile, just like what we saw in the Super 5, and I believe that's found throughout the Kingston and MTD lineup. Very comfortable neck to play, especially with the 19mm spacing. You're not feeling like you're holding a huge fat neck or anything. It's curved nicely so it fits in the palm of your hand and you can play all the strings without getting fatigued. So as I mentioned, we have a 3-band preamp, a master tone control and a master volume control in a stack, and a master blend control to go between the two pickups. These are hum canceling split humbucker pickups, so you can solo each of these pickups without dealing with any sort of 60 cycle hum. They're going to sound quiet. Now, one thing I notice about the character of this bass versus something like a traditional jazz bass is it has a lot more mid presence, where the jazz bass kind of has a scooped mids thing going on. But you can kind of channel that with a mid scoop. So first, here's everything centered. Now let's take down the mids to about 50% cut. Yeah, it can get there. It can get there into jazz bass territory, but it can also do so much more. Let's go ahead and play with the pickups and the electronics, starting with the neck pickup soloed. This one right here. I'm going to center the EQ. Here's what that sounds like. Very nice. Because it's a split humbucker, you almost get some P-bass tones out of it. You get some nice bark as well, and you have this 3-band preamp to play with. There's not much difference between playing this bass passively and playing with the EQ centered. I know on some instruments you can get kind of a gain bump when you engage the preamp. This is not one of them. Everything is nicely tuned, so here you go. Now the preamp is off. Not much of a difference, honestly. Let's go ahead and turn it back on now and play with the tone control first, actually. This is something I wanted to demonstrate. It's nice that there is a tone control and you can use it with the preamp bypassed. However, the linearity of the control, it's not very good. So when you're using the tone control from, I want to say maybe 100% down to about 30%, there's really not much of a change. I'm going to turn the treble up to about a 50% boost. Here's the tone, 100% open. Here's the tone at 50%. it sounds exactly the same. The tone control is essentially an on and off switch where between 20% and all the way down is where you get that tone control. Let me show you. So. Yeah, it's essentially an on and off switch, so I'm not going to play with the tone control too much. I have to ding this bass for the tone control here. I do appreciate that a tone control is included on a bass like this. However, a different taper type might yield better results. Now onto this EQ. This is the same G&B EQ that's included on the Super 5. I really liked that in the Super 5, and I like it here as well. You have a variety of tones to choose from. Let's start with the mid scoop. So I have the treble boosted 50%, bass boosted 50%, and the mids at full cut. Very nice, much smoother tone. It's very flexible, this instrument. Let's crank the mids to a 50% boost, and let's bring the treble up all the way, and give the bass a 50% cut. Very nice, very nice. Now let's center the EQ, and before we move on to the bridge pickup, let's give this thing a little slap with just the neck pickup soloed. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds really good. Let's go ahead and pan over to the bridge pickup now. So, as you can see, this is a jazz style instrument, and it is using 60s jazz spacing, or what appears to be 60s jazz spacing. So the bridge pickup is not as far back as you would see on a 70s jazz bass, but is where you would see it on a 60s jazz bass, or essentially a standard jazz bass by today's means, on a Fender style instrument. Oh yeah, this is fun. I really like the MTD necks. They're just a joy to go up and down. Now, I would have taken the maple fingerboard over the Laurel personally. I just like the feel of the maple fingerboard, and yeah, just a personal preference, but this feels good. It feels good. Yeah, this is a fun bass. So, just for fun, here's the tone all the way down. Oh, Okay, let's take the tone back up and play with this EQ a little bit. First thing, let's do a mid scoop. Let's boost the treble 50%, boost the bass 50%, and mids all the way down. Now let's boost the mids 50%. Let's boost them all the way. Center the treble and center the bass. Oh yeah, so you can get a variety of different tones just by soloing these pickups. Now let's bring them together, center the blend, and center the EQ. Boop, boop, boop. Ooh. Yeah, both of these pickups together is just, mwah. It's like a better jazz bass. Yeah, this is fun. Here's some more of what this sounds like with the EQ centered and the tone at 100%. Next, let's do the mid scoop, full scoop, boost the treble and boost the bass to about 50%. If you haven't noticed already, the B string on this is massive, just like it was on the Super 5. MTDs with their 35-inch scale 5 strings just have always had massive sounding B strings, and they're great. Now let's do a mid boost, boosting the mids to about 50%, and centering the bass and the treble. Okay, let's center the EQ, and you know what? Let's play this with the pick a little bit, see what happens. Still getting better at that. And let's slap it some more. This is with the EQ centered. This is fun. And let's go ahead and toss some drums behind this bass. So here are my final thoughts on the MTD Kingston Saratoga Deluxe 5-string bass. I really like this bass. It is a jazz bass and then some, just like the Super 5 was kind of like a Stingray and then some in many ways. This takes the jazz bass character and accentuates it with a lot of MTD flair. You have a gorgeous body that's very comfortable, an extremely fast and playable 5-string neck with 19mm spacing down at the bridge, which makes this very comfortable to play. You have a lot of space to work with. That's kind of a preference thing though. Not everyone likes 19mm spacing, some prefer tighter spacing. I am most comfortable with 18 to 19mm usually. That's kind of my thing. Other people can like their other spacings. It's all good. My biggest critiques, I wish there was a battery door. I wish that the tone control was a bit more responsive outside of the extremes. I do feel like this bass is somewhat living in the Super 5's shadow, even though the Super 5 is a newer model. They're both around the same price point, and this bass does have a preamp bypass as well as a passive tone control. But the double toggle switches, one for each pickup on the Super 5, allow you to channel single coil mode, which selects the outer banks of coils on the 2 Stingray pickups, giving you something very close to this. And that's just one of the modes, so you have a lot of flexibility there, and I think more so than the Saratoga. That being said, the Saratoga is its own instrument and does its thing very well, and I do really like it overall. But I do think that the Super 5 is a better value in the Kingston lineup. So what am I going to rate the MTD Kingston Saratoga Deluxe 5-string bass? Ugh. I'm going to rate this bass 4 claws out of 5. The Saratoga 5 is a very nice instrument, however, there is a lot of overlap and it is somewhat overshadowed by the newer Super 5, which can cover a lot of the same tonal ground that this has. But that being said, the specs and the build quality of this bass definitely deliver a great playing experience. The neck is just like the Super in terms of the playability and comfort, and these split coil jazz bass looking pickups sound great soloed and together. You definitely have a bit more mid presence than a traditional jazz bass, but if you're looking for those traditional tones, those can be dialed in utilizing the EQ. I think that this is a very flexible instrument, it sounds great, it plays great, and I've been very impressed with the MTD Kingston lineup overall. I noticed prices have been creeping up, however, as they have been with all manufacturers, and prices of, I believe, the 5-string have increased from $1,000 to $1,100, at least with some retailers. And that particular price point is very competitive. I mean, even within MTD's own ranks. I personally think that the Super 5 is a better value, but I don't want the goodness of the Super 5 to detract from the quality of this instrument in terms of my rating, so I think that this is a above average instrument for sure. Very high quality, great build, and all the quality control is done through MTD's own shop in Kingston, New York. That means that every new MTD is inspected at the MTD shop in New York. I do wish the implementation of the tone control was a little bit better, as essentially it acts as an on and off switch right now. However, the inclusion of it is very nice. I just think it could be finely tuned a little bit better. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to like, subscribe, join our Discord channel, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the MTD Kingston Saratoga Deluxe 5-string bass. And as always, until we groove again,